storage, audio sync. Okay, let's get it. Hey guys, it's Phoenix Elektra back with another interview for you, and today we are talking all things my newest single titled Save Me, coming October 1st, 2024. Can you save me one last time? Honestly, the inspiration kind of mainly just came from like my love for music and for being a creator. So like just in the way that music has saved me so many times, pulled me from the edge so many times, creating music has also done that. And so this was kind of like a two-in-one sort of thing where I was writing it as a love letter to music for saving my life. So yes, obviously it is my real voice. There's a production technique called formant distortion, or formant adjusting. And so basically what I did was I took the formant of my voice and dragged it all the way down. It tends to happen naturally when you pitch things up or down, but I am singing all of those notes that you hear, but I just dragged the formant down. And that was sort of just a creative choice that didn't necessarily have any thought behind it. I had done it on a track or two prior and just thought it sounded cool, so I went with it. It's kind of funny. So there are these things called Vocaloids, and so they are basically like samples of like a human voice actor or singer or whatever, and you can input them into what is essentially a text-to-speech program. You can input your own notes as well, and it will essentially sing whatever you input. And so there was a Vocaloid that I was heavily inspired by the art for the voice bank, and her name is Cyber Diva. She has this like all white and gold color scheme with a vintage like ribbon style looking microphone and these huge gold like pilot shades, gold, blonde, yellow hair, and then she has a gold lip to match, and then everything else is just pure white. And so matching my lipstick to my sunglasses, the Pit Vipers that I wore in the shoot was kind of like heavily inspired by that Cyber Diva album art. But of course I took everything and made it my own and made it Technicolor and, you know, just obnoxious, and I ended up being really happy with the album art actually. And if you asked me to create that album art again, I probably couldn't. I don't even know how I got those photos to look the way that they did. Don't ask. The sound design sort of came from just kind of screwing around with things that weren't really sounds, if you know what I mean. One of my favorite things that I did is there's like a closed hi-hat like on the same beat as the kick, but then for the chorus I switched it so the hi-hat is only on the 3 and 4 of the kick, but what replaced the hi-hat was actually the sound of like a glass, like a wine glass, like a crystal, like really thin-walled glass. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. They sound different. And it's basically the sound of it being like flicked. And so you can kind of hear it in the final mix. If you listen for it, if you pay attention, there's the sound of like a glass being flicked. And so just using interesting perks like that, using synths that I'm already familiar with, using a really aggressive pump side chain, and really warm sort of 70s like arpeggiators, just to really kind of bring it to life. And the sound design, honestly, again, it was a lot of just kind of screwing around and seeing what sounded good, which is a very relied upon tool in my creative process. But I think there's something to be said about, you know, just kind of like keeping your doors open and being willing to explore things that you either haven't explored before or never would have even thought would like go together, and then they work together. Oh boy. I honestly, it's kind of hard to say what my favorite part of the song is, because it's the whole thing is my, you know? But if I had to like place it on like one specific thing, it would be that portion of the bridge, well, I guess post-bridge, where it's that higher octave, that "Can you say me one last time?" and the reverb builds through that vocal into the ecstasy that is the final chorus. That little detail right there is probably my favorite. That and the arps that you hear through either ear, because those actually were kind of a last minute decision. I was sitting there tinkering with it and I was like, this track needs something else to like fill it out. So I added a melodic and a harmonic arpeggio to run through the chorus, and that is like, oh, it was just like between without the arps and with them, it was like such a like chef's kiss, like cherry on top. I was like, that is exactly what this track needed. The writing process was pretty straightforward for the most part. I kind of had this melody lyric idea, just the sort of, "Can you say me one last time?" I just had that in my head for like such a long time, for like, I want to say probably a year before I actually sat down and wrote this track. But I just had that little blurb, that little like sound bite, I guess, in my head for so long. And I never just took the time to actually sit down and devote and write the track to go with it. But, you know, when I sat down, I knew I had that idea, and I was like, okay, so what if I layer it? "Can you say me one last time?" And then there's like a bunch of different parts that play in like the vocoder like harmony, like there's like a lower octave. "Can you say me one last time?" And then there's another one that's like, "Can you say me one last time?" And then there's an upper octave one, but I also don't feel like belting that right now and being obnoxious. I had that idea and just kind of sat with it. And then as I started writing and started producing, it originally sounded nothing like what I wanted it to. I wanted it to be much like heavier, closer to like tech house, or closer to like future house is like my favorite genre. I can't produce it, but it's my favorite, like one of my favorite ones to listen to. And so I wanted it to be a little bit heavier like that, but I just couldn't make that sound. So what I ended up doing was just kind of the track as it is. But I ended up really liking it, and so I was like, all right, we'll run with it. Can I take my jacket off? It's kind of getting a tad bit warm in here. The writing process was pretty straightforward. It, again, it all just kind of fell into place once I got the idea that I wanted the track to be about music, as like a love letter to music for like saving my life. The lyrics just kind of fell into place, and then the structure of like the intro and the verse, chorus, bridge, whatever, that's like pretty like cookie cutter for me. It's arranged exactly how I arrange all my other songs. So it was pretty straightforward, pretty easy production process. This track took probably, I want to say, roughly 48 hours. And I have this weird like rule in my music where everything that I have produced in 48 hours has always been a banger. It's always been like some of my best work. Like off of Blacklight, Train of Thought, and Nick were both produced in 48 hours. I have produced songs in less. I've produced songs in 5 hours. Do not recommend, but I have done it. my kind of golden rule, it always seems to happen and the stars just align, but like anytime something takes me 48 hours, it always sounds really, really good and it's some of my best work. So this one kind of followed suit. Obviously things like mixing and mastering and like the recording don't necessarily count as a part of that, but the actual production process itself of the track minus like the finishing touches, you know? And not 48 hours as in like, oh, like I actually clocked 48 hours of work. 48 hours as in like it all happened over the course of a couple hours over the course of 2 days. So took about 48 hours and it's a really good track, and not to toot my own horn, but it's pretty fucking good for 48 hours. So yeah, that is kind of a little more about this track. It's, you know, it's everything you guys already know from me. It's like the house meets like 80s meets like whatever the fuck my style is, because I don't know what I would call my style, my genre of music. If you know, let me know. I don't know what I would call it, but it's very signature to me. And the only thing that's changed is the production value, because I've gotten better at that, obviously. So hopefully you guys learned a thing or two about this track. Hopefully you guys are excited for it. I am very, very excited for it. This is one of my favorite tracks I've written in such a long time. I can't even begin to tell you. And yeah, set your alarms, mark your calendars. Pre-save on Spotify now. You can go to phoenixelectra.hearnow.com and you can pre-save on Spotify as well. That website gives you an idea of what platforms it's going to be on, as well as all of my current public discography. You can go ahead and browse and pregame while you're waiting for Save Me to drop October 1st, 2024 at midnight. So, get ready. I want to thank you guys so much for watching yet another interview. Let me know if you guys would like to see more of these kinds of interviews about upcoming future projects. That being said, my next upcoming project is going to be titled Miss Me. So, Save Me, Miss Me. So get ready for that. It'll probably not be this year. It's probably going to be 2025. Hopefully you guys are excited for Save Me. Like I said, I know I am, and I will see you guys in my next video, whatever the video is. Interview, music video. We don't know. We'll find out. Love you all so much. Don't forget to support local artists, and I will see you next time. That was a good one. That was a good fucking tongue pop. I'm so glad I don't have to do a take 2 of that.